Hey guys, tonight, we're stepping into the world of the samurai, where discipline, skill, and a rather fascinating routine rule the day. And yes, you might just find that it's a little more complicated than hitting snooze on your alarm and hoping for a few more minutes of sleep. But don't worry, if you stick around, you might just learn something that'll make you feel like a true warrior, even if it's just about surviving your morning routine. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. But only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Also, drop a comment telling me what time it is where you're watching from. I'd love to know where you are tuning in from. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The world is still dark when you open your eyes. It's that soft, quiet kind of dark. The kind where everything feels like it's still holding its breath. The kind of dark that has a certain weight, like the world's not sure if it's ready for you to rise. But here you are, waking up, as a samurai. Sort of, you stretch, slowly at first, feeling the tension of yesterday's battles in your shoulders and neck. You've always known how important stretching is for a warrior. The samurai were famous for their flexibility, both in body and mind, their morning routine. Well, it was their secret weapon for staying sharp and prepared for anything. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. You roll over and reach for the little wooden chest beside your tatami mat. Your first task is simple, you're breathing. It's a little odd, right? You thought your first task of the day would be something like hitting the gym or brewing coffee. But no, for the samurai, breathing was essential. It was the foundation of everything that followed. You inhale deeply, and for a moment, it feels as though time has stopped. You're centered, calm. The world outside your humble room doesn't even exist. But just as you're about to feel like a true warrior, serene and composed, your stomach grumbles. And just like that, the illusion vanishes. The samurai didn't have the luxury of lounging about in bed like you might do on a Saturday. They had a warrior's resolve. Their discipline started first thing, and their routines weren't optional. It wasn't like the endless snooze button you rely on when the day feels too overwhelming. That's right, you get up, slowly. Every movement is measured, purposeful, like you've got the weight of the world on your shoulders. But in a calm, collected way. The samurai were never rushed. They weren't trying to prove anything to anyone, they simply were. But then, well, you might get a glimpse of yourself in the mirror. And reality check, you're not exactly wearing armor yet. You are still in your pajamas, but let's not focus on that. You head toward the kitchen, where you'll brew your tea. Because, yes, this is how a samurai starts their day. Forget coffee, forget whatever morning ritual you've picked up from some Instagram guru. The samurai drank tea, and with it, they found clarity. The simple, calming ritual of boiling water and steeping leaves. No rush, no distractions. As you wait for the water to boil, you take a moment to appreciate the stillness. This was the samurai's first real challenge of the day, finding peace in the silence. It wasn't easy. In fact, historians argue about whether samurai really could remain so calm and focused all the time, or if it was just part of their image. Samurai Zen, they called it. But the debate still lingers in academic circles. Could they really control their emotions, or were they just pretending? Regardless, you stand there now, facing the boiling water, feeling oddly empowered. Tea. It's not as glamorous as a sword, but the samurai would tell you it's just as important. They would say that without proper mental clarity, without mastering the smallest details of your life, you can't even hope to be a true warrior. Now, your tea's ready. You pour it into a cup, taking a moment to inhale its fragrance. The samurai didn't just drink tea, they savored it. It was an art, a practice in patience. You follow suit, allowing the warmth of the tea to fill your senses. You feel your muscles begin to relax, your thoughts slowing down. This is where the samurai were at their best. In moments of stillness, this was their quiet rebellion against the chaos of the world. And right now, you feel it too. In this little moment of serenity, as if you could take on anything the world might throw at you. And yet, in the back of your mind, there's a tiny voice. A voice that whispers, you might not survive the rest of this day. But that's just the voice of doubt. And let's face it, everyone has one. The first stretch of the day always feels like a battle, doesn't it? You're still half asleep, trying to figure out what's real and what's just another dream. And your body's fighting you every step of the way. But this is how the samurai did it. They didn't just roll out of bed, grab their coffee, and call it a day. No, they embraced the discomfort. They woke up, stretched, and prepared for whatever the world might throw at them, even before the world was ready for them. So, here you are, still in your makeshift samurai getup, attempting to channel that warrior spirit. You stand tall, feet planted firmly on the floor. You roll your neck, your shoulders, then your back. Slowly at first, the way you're supposed to. Just like they taught you in the dojo, and there it is. A quiet, stretching groan from deep within your bones. It feels oddly satisfying. Maybe a little too satisfying. But remember, you're a samurai now, and samurai don't rush. They don't sprint into battle without knowing how to breathe. They take their time to prepare. It's all about pacing yourself. Something modern life doesn't always teach. And hey, if you're going to pretend you're a samurai, you might as well embrace the zen of it, right? As you stand there, contemplating whether or not you've just overdone it with the stretching, because let's be real, you're not as young as you used to be. You start to think about how long this ritual really took the samurai. Did they have the luxury of an hour-long stretching session? Or was it more like a quick series of moves to get the blood flowing? Historians still argue this. Some say they were all about efficiency. Others claim the stretches were long, deliberate, and deeply philosophical. Who's right? Well, that's up for debate. But one thing's for sure. If they stretched as much as you did this morning, they'd probably be dead by lunchtime. But it doesn't matter now. You're ready. You've completed the first task of the day. Your body feels less like a sloth and more like, well, a sluggish samurai. You take a deep breath, lift your arms in a dramatic sweep, because, why not, and prepare for the next part of your ritual. This is the part where the real work begins, the tea. But we'll get to that in a second. You take a few steps toward the center of your room, stretching the last bit of sleep away. The samurai were masters of focus, right? But we're talking about real focus, so intense that they could even read the wind. Yes, seriously. Samurai didn't just carry swords. They carried the ability to observe everything around them with pinpoint precision. You're not expecting to read the wind today, though you'd probably settle for just reading the room. But you can try focusing on something other than your increasingly desperate need for caffeine. As you stand there, looking at your reflection in a nearby mirror. Yes, you are finally facing the mirror. You're reminded of one essential truth. Samurai were always prepared. Their morning routine was like a battle strategy. Every movement had a purpose. The perfect samurai didn't just wake up and get dressed. They embodied their purpose with every action. It wasn't just about their sword. It was about who they were when they picked it up. And here's the thing. You can do the same. Not just today, but every day. If they can train their mind and body to act with such purpose, so can you. You can fight your own daily battle of getting out of bed and facing the world. But first, a quick detour. You notice something. A slight ache in your side. That's right. You've probably pulled something while stretching. A samurai would have sucked it up and moved on. But you decide to take a moment to assess this situation. Now, here is the thing about samurai that most people don't understand. Their resilience wasn't about sheer muscle strength. Oh no, it was all about mental toughness. And here you are, standing in front of your mirror, mentally preparing for whatever the day will throw at you. Sure, it's not quite the same as holding a sword and preparing for battle. But let's not kid ourselves. This is your battle. Remember that historians' debate I mentioned? Yeah, it's still going on. Was samurai resilience all about their inner fortitude? Or was it just an external display of strength? The jury's still out. Some say they were untouchable in their emotional resilience. Others say they hid behind their armor like everyone else. One thing we do know, though, they made a habit of using every discomfort, every challenge, to sharpen their resolve. And that, my friend, is something you can borrow. You adjust your posture again, standing tall, shoulders back, feeling that slight twinge in your back. No big deal. Just part of the process. The samurai didn't let physical discomfort hold them back, and neither should you. With a firm nod to yourself because it's always good to acknowledge your effort. You move on. As you head toward the kitchen, you notice the faint smell of fresh tea wafting through the air. Your first task of the day. The samurai didn't start their morning with a cup of coffee. They started with tea. Tea was about more than just caffeine. It was about calmness, clarity, focus, and as you pour the hot water over the leaves, you think to yourself, maybe this whole tea thing isn't so bad after all. Ah, the first sip of tea, warm, comforting, and a far cry from the chaos you thought you'd face today. The steam rises in delicate swirls, and for a moment, you're the samurai you've always imagined, sitting in the quiet of your inner courtyard, savoring each drop as if it were the last. It's funny, isn't it, how something so simple can give you that moment of peace. You glance around your room, which, despite your attempts at samurai discipline, is still filled with the clutter of modern life. Your phone buzzing on the table, the faint hum of a nearby car engine from the street. The samurai had no such distractions, but then again, they didn't have Instagram either, so tea here is that. Still, you can't help but feel a sense of calm wash over you. You're reminded of the samurai's unshakable ability to focus. It's said that they practiced focusing on one task until they could do it effortlessly, to the point where they could block out everything else. That's right, no scrolling through endless feeds of people's breakfast bowls and fitness selfies. Just complete, unwavering focus. Tea, for the samurai, wasn't just about taste or caffeine. It was a sacred ritual, a moment of pure clarity before they went out into the world to conquer whatever came their way. And here you are, embracing this very ritual. Your phone keeps buzzing, and you keep ignoring it. You are on your path, just like the samurai, focused, deliberate, and not about to let the distractions of the world pull you away from your moment. But just as you start to feel like a true master of focus, a thought creeps in. This is nice, but there's more to be done. You sigh, realizing that yes, your morning routine has barely begun. You glance at the time and think about how the samurai would have approached this moment. Would they be sipping tea while checking the time? Would they have even considered anything beyond the moment in front of them? History is divided on this. Some believe that the samurai would never have checked the time during a ritual. They were supposed to be above such mundane concerns. Others argue that even the most disciplined warriors were bound by the ticking of the clock. Who knows? The jury's still out. But let's focus on you. The day is waiting. You've got this cup of tea in your hands and you're feeling more in control than you were a few minutes ago. You're taking each moment seriously, even if that just means savoring the warmth of the liquid as it coats your throat. And you know what? The samurai would approve, in their world. Every small action, no matter how seemingly insignificant, was worth doing with intention. Now, you turn your attention back to your surroundings. You could easily allow the distractions to flood your mind again. The internet, the noise outside your window, the endless stream of thoughts about your day. But you don't. For once, you make a conscious decision. I will focus. It's not easy, of course. The distractions keep coming, like little ninja assassins sneaking up on you. Your mind wanders, thinking about the responsibilities of the day, what emails you need to answer, what tasks you need to tackle. But this, right here, is your moment. Just like the samurai, you embrace the silence, letting it fill the space around you. As you take another sip of tea, you think about how the samurai would have approached their day. They woke up early, practiced their breathing, stretched, drank tea, and then, without hesitation, moved forward into their duties. They didn't wait for motivation to hit them. They acted because they understood that action was the bridge between intention and success. You can't help but chuckle at the thought, because if you're being honest, you're not quite feeling the samurai vibe just yet. You might have started the morning off like a warrior, but now you're feeling, well, a bit like you'd rather go back to bed. Still, you push that thought aside, because you know the samurai wouldn't entertain such notions. No, they'd move forward with purpose. Unflinching. You, however, are still in the phase of pretending to be a warrior. But hey, that's a start, right? Now, as you finish your tea, you consider your next move. You've spent a few minutes centering yourself, but the day is still ahead. The samurai weren't about just starting their day, they were about finishing it too, with honor and strength. They didn't just survive their routines, they embraced them fully. And here you are, still learning the ropes of your own samurai path. The truth is, samurai had a deep respect for ritual, and for good reason. A ritual wasn't just a series of actions, it was a reflection of who you were. You could tell everything about a person by their ritual. And right now, your ritual is still a bit rough around the edges. But it's a start. And here is where things get interesting. Because while samurai rituals were based on discipline, they weren't always about absolute perfection. In fact, there's a long-standing debate about whether the samurai ever truly achieved perfection in their routines, or if they simply accepted the imperfections and moved on. Some say they were masters of perfection. Others, not so much, but you don't have to worry about perfection. Not today. Today, it's about focus. It's about setting your intentions for the day, taking that next sip of tea, and stepping into the world with purpose. You may not be a true samurai just yet, but you're on your way. So, now that your tea has been consumed and your body is at least somewhat awake, it's time to consider the next phase of your samurai routine, the weaponry. The samurai didn't just wake up, eat breakfast, and grab their swords willy-nilly. Oh no, their weapons were extensions of themselves, carefully chosen, meticulously maintained, and always ready for action. But here is the fun part. You're not really a samurai, are you? You are just someone trying to get through a morning routine without spilling coffee on your shirt. But hey, who said you can't play pretend for a while? You look around your room, spotting a few items scattered around. Your umbrella, a nearby tennis racket, a pen that's been lying there for days, silently judging your lack of organization. None of these are actual weapons, of course. But what if they were? What if, just for a moment, you imagined that you were preparing to face an enemy? You grab the pen first. Yes, a pen. You have to admit, it's not the most intimidating weapon, but there's a certain elegance to it, don't you think? It's not bulky, it's sleek, and if you need to write something down in a hurry, well, it's absolutely the right tool for the job. As you hold it, you imagine yourself with a sword, perhaps a katana, glinting in the early light. You'd need to keep it sharp, you'd need to respect it, you'd need to wield it with intention, and suddenly, that pen in your hand doesn't seem all that out of place. It's your weapon of choice for the moment, your own symbol of readiness. You begin to imagine the samurai's preparation for battle, how they would meticulously clean their swords, run their fingers along the edges to ensure the blade was perfect. You get a little too caught up in the imagery, imagining yourself in full samurai gear, standing tall in front of a mirror, giving yourself a little pep talk about your duties today. Of course, that's just the daydreamer in you. The reality is that you are still holding a pen, and probably need to go to the bathroom. But let's pause for a second here. This whole samurai weapons thing wasn't about sheer physical strength, it was about knowing how to use what you had. The samurai were not just warriors, they were experts in their tools. They didn't carry swords just for the sake of it. They carried them because they knew exactly how to wield them, even in the most stressful situations. The lesson here, you don't need to be the best at everything. You just need to be the best at what you do. So, here's the question. What's your weapon? For the samurai, it was a katana for you. Maybe it's your pen, or your mind, or your ability to get through a morning routine without throwing in the towel. Either way, like the samurai, you've got to treat your weapon with respect. Whether it's a pen, a pencil, or your ability to face the day, it's yours. And in a weird way, that's what gives you strength. The historians still argue about the samurai's actual use of weapons in daily life. Some claim that their swords were only used in moments of extreme necessity, that they were often more a symbol of status than an actual tool of battle. Others argue that samurai carried their swords at all times, always ready to defend themselves, just in case. Who knows? Perhaps they were a little paranoid, or maybe they were just really prepared. But you're prepared in your own way. You might not be strapping a sword to your side, but you've got your pen, or maybe it's your phone, or that half-filled cup of tea that's still warm and comforting. As you stand there, still imagining yourself as a samurai, you begin to think about your next move. The sword was not just a weapon, it was an extension of the samurai's soul. It said that every samurai had a bond with their sword that went beyond simple possession. The sword represented discipline, honor, and a code that governed every action of their lives. They took care of their swords, trained with them, and treated them as if they were part of themselves. And maybe that's the lesson here. It's not about the physical tools we have at our disposal, but how we use them. Do you treat your day, your work, your routine with the same respect that the samurai gave their weapons? Do you sharpen your mind and prepare yourself for whatever comes? Or do you let the chaos of the world take the lead? This question lingers in your mind as you finish your brief fantasy of being a warrior, standing tall with your sword drawn. It's a bit of an absurd image, sure, but that's the point, right? Even in the absurdity of this morning routine, there's something noble about trying to be disciplined, trying to focus, trying to make today a little better than yesterday. You look at the clock. It's time to move on. Your samurai routine is far from over. The next challenge awaits. The next phase of your samurai morning routine arrives swiftly, like the sudden realization that, yes, you are indeed running late. You glance around the room, knowing there's something important you're supposed to be doing. Something that's about to bring you one step closer to full samurai mode. The samurai didn't just sharpen their swords, they sharpened their minds. So, it's time to put down the pen, shake off the lingering fantasy of sword fighting, and get into the next challenge. Focus. You may not have a battle to face today, unless you count the endless emails awaiting your attention, but the samurai didn't just fight when there was a sword in their hand. They fought every day, in the smallest moments, with the weapon of focus. They didn't lose their temper over a minor inconvenience, nor did they let distractions throw them off course. They trained their minds to stay centered. And that, my friend, is your next task. It's time for you to practice what the samurai called zanshin, a state of awareness that permeates every part of your being. Now, before you get too lost in the idea of becoming some Zen-like warrior, let's be honest. Your attention span is probably about the same as a cat's at this point. You've already checked your phone twice, and your mind's likely wandering to what you'll have for lunch, or even worse, whether you've forgotten to reply to a message. But that's where the magic happens. The samurai would have taken one look at your wandering mind and laughed. Or at least, that's what you like to imagine they'd do. The truth is, they would have recognized it for what it was, a normal part of the human experience, focus. For them, wasn't about perfection, it was about training every day. So, here you are. You close your eyes. You breathe in deeply, just as the samurai would have done before preparing for battle, or tea, or sword practice, or whatever they felt like doing that day. The goal here isn't to force your mind into submission. You're not a robot. You're a human. You're not a samurai after all, but you can steal their habits. As you breathe, your thoughts continue to drift, but instead of getting frustrated, you embrace the drifting. You gently pull your attention back to your breathing, back to the task at hand. You might not be as calm as a samurai during a battle, but you're learning the art of patience. You're learning that focus isn't a switch you flip on and off. It's a practice. It's something you build over time, like muscle memory. And it's here, in this quiet moment of self-reflection, that you realize how much time you've been wasting in the noise. You've been letting every distraction pull at your attention, your emails, your phone, the random thoughts about what you might wear later. The samurai wouldn't have let that happen. They understood that focus is a gift, something to be nurtured with purpose. They didn't just focus on the task at hand, they focused on everything with purpose. Whether it was drinking tea, cleaning their swords, or simply breathing. Of course, this is where things start to get tricky, because you're not really a samurai, you're just you. And distractions are a part of the deal, but here is the kicker. That's exactly why you need to practice this. You might not be able to silence the distractions of modern life, but you can learn to respond to them. You shift your focus back to your breath. In, out. And as you settle into the rhythm, you feel a strange sense of calm. Maybe this samurai stuff isn't so ridiculous after all. Maybe, just maybe, you're a little closer to becoming the warrior you've always dreamed of being. Not by wielding a sword, but by mastering your mind. Historians still argue about how much control samurai really had over their minds. Some say they were the Zen masters of emotional regulation, capable of walking through the chaos of battle without breaking a sweat. Others argue that it was all a show, an image they cultivated to strike fear into their enemies and impress the public. The truth is probably somewhere in between. But one thing is certain, their practice was relentless. Day in, day out, they worked to improve their mental clarity, just as you're doing right now, trying to find that space of calm in the middle of your otherwise chaotic morning. Now, you start to notice the sounds around you, the faint hum of traffic outside your window, the soft rustle of the trees in the breeze. They're not distractions anymore. They're just part of the experience. You let them wash over you, reminding you that you are present, that you are here. But of course, no samurai morning routine would be complete without one more essential step. You finish your breathing exercises, wipe the sleepy fog from your mind, and prepare for the next part of your ritual, getting dressed. Yes, it's time to face the wardrobe. And no, you're not about to suit up in full samurai armor, thank goodness. But you are about to choose what you wear with intention. Just as the samurai would have chosen their attire carefully, to reflect their status, their discipline, and their readiness for the day ahead. The historians still debate whether samurai were truly perfectionists when it came to their attire. Some say they spent hours every morning adjusting their armor, making sure everything was in its proper place, while others argue that they were far more practical and didn't fuss over their appearance that much. As with everything related to the samurai, the debate rages on. You, however, are faced with the reality of your modern-day wardrobe. No, it's not as exciting as picking out armor, but it is still important. You take a moment to carefully consider what you'll wear today. Will you choose the comfortable option, or will you challenge yourself to wear something that makes you feel confident, even if it's a bit more formal than your usual casual style? You stand in front of your closet, weighing your options. The samurai didn't have the luxury of such a variety of choices. They had their armor, heavy, reliable, and only slightly uncomfortable. But you've got the luxury of choice, so choose wisely. You stand there for a moment, your hand hovering over the shirt you've decided to wear for the day. It's not armor, but it's something. It's part of your morning ritual. Just like the samurai, You can't leave this moment to chance. They didn't wake up and throw on whatever was lying around. They picked their armor with care. Whether it was a suit of steel or simple cloth, it was an extension of who they were and how they carried themselves in the world. You pull the shirt on, feeling the fabric against your skin. It's not exactly samurai armor, but it's yours. And right now, it's your battle gear for the day ahead. You button it up slowly, reflecting on the samurai's impeccable attention to detail. Every fold, every crease, every layer of their armor mattered. They didn't just slap things on without thinking, they wore them with purpose. This is where the mindset of the samurai shines through. It wasn't just about the physical act of putting on armor. It was about embodying a warrior's spirit. For them, every action was an opportunity for discipline. Every moment of the day was an opportunity to reinforce their commitment to their duty. It's funny, isn't it? How something as simple as getting dressed can feel like a choice between living with intention or going through the motions. You could just throw on whatever's easiest, but then you'd be missing out on a chance to feel the way you want to act. The samurai didn't wear their armor just for protection. They wore it to remind themselves of their purpose. The same way you wear this shirt today, not just to cover yourself, but to set the tone for what's ahead. Now, as you look at yourself in the mirror, you do something a little unconventional for a modern person. You bow. It's a gesture you learned about the samurai, an act of respect, not just for others but for yourself. You acknowledge your preparation, the choices you've made, and the discipline you've set in motion. This isn't just a morning routine anymore. It's a ritual. You've put in the effort and now you're ready to meet the world. Of course, you are not a samurai. You don't have the armor, and you don't have a battlefield to walk into. But your life is your own kind of battleground. You have tasks to face, obstacles to overcome, and distractions that are going to try and steal your attention. The samurai would have handled those distractions with grace and discipline. They wouldn't have let them throw them off course. This is where you draw the line between pretending and committing. Are you going to wear your armor just because it's a fun way to start the day? Or are you going to wear it with purpose, ready to take on the challenges ahead like a true warrior? This choice is yours, and it's a small one that's easily overlooked. But in that small moment, you have the chance to shape your day, and maybe even your life. The samurai didn't waste time guessing their armor. They didn't stand in front of the mirror wondering if they looked good or if they were properly outfitted. They didn't need to. They knew their armor was perfect for the job. You may not be as sure of your morning routine just yet, but like the samurai, you're learning that it's not about perfection. It's about preparation. As you finish buttoning up and adjusting your clothes, you're aware of the sense of readiness settling over you. This simple act, done with intention, has already begun to sharpen your mind. The rest of the world may still be buzzing around you, but in this moment, you're prepared. You're stepping into the day not just as someone trying to survive it, but as someone who is actively shaping it. The samurai would be proud of that. And yet, there's still more to this morning ritual. The next step is perhaps the most crucial one: the bow. In samurai culture, the bow was not just a gesture of respect. It was an embodiment of humility and gratitude. The samurai bowed to their superiors, to their comrades, and even to the challenges ahead. It was a recognition that they were part of something bigger, something that required both discipline and a willingness to adapt. So, you take a deep breath, stand tall, and perform a small bow. Maybe it's not as dramatic as you imagined, but it's a gesture of respect for yourself and the journey you're on. It's the samurai way of honoring what's to come, acknowledging that while you don't know exactly what the day will bring, you're ready to face it. There's something powerful in this small act. It's like the universe is watching, and in this moment, you know that whatever the day brings, you're prepared for it. You might not have a sword, and you might not be facing a battlefield, but you are still stepping out into the world with a warrior's resolve. That's what matters. And yet, historians still debate the true significance of the bow in samurai culture. Some say it was a sign of power, a way for samurai to assert their dominance over others. Others argue it was a gesture of humility, a symbol of the samurai's understanding that they were always learning, always growing. Whatever the true meaning, one thing is clear: the bow was central to their daily life. For you, that bow is about centering yourself, reminding yourself that you are the one in control of your destiny today. You don't need armor. You don't need a sword. Just your own resolve, your own intention, and the willingness to face whatever comes your way. As you stand there, looking at your reflection, you take one last moment to appreciate the calm you've cultivated so far. You're not perfect. You're not a samurai, but you're on your way. The rest of the day is ahead of you, and while it may not be a battle, it's yours to conquer. The next step in your samurai morning ritual is something that, well, might throw off your peaceful zen for a moment. The sudden realization that you actually have to leave the house. It's funny how easy it is to get lost in the quiet stillness of your room, imagining yourself as a warrior, surrounded by nothing but tranquility and purpose. But then, reality hits. You've got things to do. The outside world is waiting for you, full of noise, people, and demands that don't care about your calm, samurai-like mindset. And that's where the real test begins. You've been practicing focus, discipline, and awareness. You've taken care of your mental state, calmed your mind, and sharpened your resolve. Now, the samurai would say that true strength is not tested in moments of peace, but in the face of chaos. Can you maintain that same calm when the world starts pulling at your attention? You walk toward the door, each step slow and deliberate. Just like the samurai would have walked into battle, you move with purpose, no rushing, no scrambling. You know that every small action matters, and as you open the door, the sound of the world hits you. The honking horns, the buzzing of people, the hum of modern life. It's a far cry from the stillness you've just cultivated. For the samurai, this was a daily test. They didn't live in peaceful silence. They lived in a world full of distractions, just like you. And yet, they were able to maintain their composure, even in the most stressful situations. Some historians argue that this skill was innate, a sort of warrior's instinct. Others believe it was the result of rigorous mental training. Whatever the cause, the ability to remain unaffected by the chaos around them was part of their strength. And you've just stepped into the chaos, but instead of being rattled, you take a deep breath. You focus. The world around you is moving fast, but you don't have to keep up with it. You don't have to match its pace. You don't have to react to every noise, every distraction. You can remain centered. You can choose how to respond. It's not as easy as it sounds. Of course, the samurai's ability to remain calm in the face of chaos wasn't born overnight. They trained for it. They meditated, practiced, and lived with purpose. But you can take a page from their book. It's not about eliminating the chaos. It's about learning how to exist within it without being swept away. As you step outside, you feel the rush of the world against you. The cars, the people, the endless tasks awaiting your attention. You could get lost in it, lose yourself in the noise. But today, you decide not to. Today, you decide to move with intention. You take your first steps into the world, just as the samurai would have done. Here's where the magic happens. Because the samurai didn't see life as a series of obstacles to overcome. They saw it as a series of opportunities to practice discipline. Every step they took, whether in battle or in daily life, was a chance to grow, to learn, to remain focused. The samurai weren't always perfect though. History has a funny way of romanticizing their lives, presenting them as paragons of discipline. But if you dig deeper, you'll find that they were just as human as you and me. They had doubts. They faced challenges. They weren't always calm. But they practiced. Day in, day out. They practiced. And that's what set them apart. As you walk down the street, you start to notice how you're handling the day differently. You're not rushing. You're not reacting to every little distraction. You're moving with purpose, just like the samurai would have done. Maybe you're not in a full suit of armor, but you're carrying yourself like a warrior, and that's what matters. It's funny. This whole samurai routine started as an experiment, a way to shake off the modern chaos for a bit. But as you move through the world, you realize that maybe you've learned something. Maybe, just maybe, the samurai had it right all along. It's not about being perfect. It's not about being invincible. It's about staying true to yourself, no matter what the world throws your way. And here's the best part. You don't have to do it all at once. You don't have to be perfect today or tomorrow. The samurai didn't wake up one day as the perfect warrior. They spent years honing their craft. And so can you. Every step you take, no matter how small, brings you closer to the person you want to be. You arrive at your destination, whether it's work, school, or just another day in the endless grind. But you feel different today. You feel like you've stepped into the world with a warrior's resolve, ready for whatever comes next. And as you take a deep breath, you realize that the chaos around you doesn't have to control you. You are in charge. That's the true power of the samurai, not their swords, not their armor, but their ability to move through the world with purpose, grace, and discipline. You may not be wearing armor, but you've got your own tools, your focus, your resolve, your ability to stay grounded when everything else seems out of control. The samurai would be proud. As you settle into your day, you might find yourself thinking back to the first few moments of your morning, those quiet stretches, that careful attention to detail as you chose your clothes, the focus you cultivated with your breathing. You start to realize that your samurai morning routine didn't just end with putting on your metaphorical armor. No, it's a mindset, a way of carrying yourself throughout the day, and you're only just beginning to understand it. The samurai didn't only live by their swords, they lived by their code. And while you may not have a literal code like they did, you've certainly got your own set of rules to follow for the day. Maybe it's a list of tasks, maybe it's just your inner commitment to carry the calm of your morning with you throughout everything you do. But either way, that code is what will guide you through the rest of the day. You start walking into your office, your workspace, or wherever the day's responsibilities lie. Whatever your setting, the same principle applies. You are here, and now you have to show up. The samurai knew that every moment was an opportunity to display their strength, not just in the grand gestures, but in the small quiet acts of daily life. Their discipline wasn't just reserved for the battlefield. It was embedded in the way they moved, spoke, and thought. So, here's the question. How are you going to show up today? It's easy to get distracted by the endless demands on your time, emails, meetings, phone calls, tasks that seem to multiply as soon as you turn your back. The world, in all its frenzy, often demands that you move at its pace. But just like the samurai, you don't have to rush. You don't have to be swept away by the tide. The secret is in how you respond. You might think that showing up means just being present, but the samurai showed up with intention. They didn't just swing their sword around aimlessly. They focused, they aimed, and they struck with purpose. And that's what you can do today, too. Take a moment, look at the tasks ahead of you. Sure, they might seem overwhelming, like a bunch of little battles waiting to be fought. But just like the samurai in their own day, today, you can approach them with the same discipline you've already practiced. One step at a time, one task at a time, no need to rush. As you dive into your work, you begin to notice something. You're not panicking. You're not reacting emotionally to every little thing that comes your way. The distractions still exist, but they don't have the same power over you anymore. You've learned how to center yourself in the midst of them. It's not perfect, but it's progress. The samurai didn't wait for the perfect conditions to act. They didn't need the perfect sword, the perfect opponent, or the perfect moment to strike. They created those moments with their focus and their discipline. And here you are, creating your own moments of strength by choosing to approach the day with the same focus. There's an old saying, the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. And if you've been following your samurai routine so far, you know this is true. The small acts matter. Whether it's the way you breathe, the way you choose your clothes, or the way you handle a challenging task, it all adds up. As you go about your day, it might seem like the world is moving faster than you can keep up. There might be times when it feels like everything is falling apart at once. But in those moments, you'll have a choice. You can choose to react in frustration or anger, or you can choose to center yourself like the samurai, taking a deep breath and moving forward with purpose. Now, I know what you're thinking. This all sounds good in theory, but how realistic is it? Can you really live like a samurai, with that kind of focus and calm, every single day? Here's the thing, the samurai didn't do it perfectly, and neither will you. Historians are still divided on how much of the samurai's stoic behavior was genuine, and how much of it was part of their public image. But that's not the point. The point is the effort. The point is that you're trying. You're actively choosing to live with more purpose, more focus, and more intention. And in doing so, you're walking a path that, even if it's imperfect, will always lead you somewhere better. You'll face challenges today, just as the samurai face challenges every day. But how you respond to those challenges, how you choose to meet them with calm, focus, and strength, that's what defines you. And whether you're fighting a literal battle or just trying to make it through a busy workday, the principles are the same. Show up with intention, remain focused, and always move forward. As you make your way through the day, you start to notice a shift. You're still dealing with the same tasks, the same distractions, the same challenges, but you're no longer reacting in the same way. You've started to embody the samurai's mindset. You're not rushing through your tasks. You're not allowing the world's chaos to take control of you. You're moving with purpose. And as you check off one task after another, you realize that maybe, just maybe, this whole samurai routine isn't so impossible after all. The day continues, and with each step, you find yourself moving a little more like the samurai you've been channeling all morning. Here is still noise around you, still distractions trying to pull your focus in 1,000 directions. But you've learned something invaluable today. It's not about silencing the noise. It's about knowing how to focus amidst it. This, as you're quickly discovering, is the true power of the samurai. And here is the thing. As much as you've practiced staying calm and composed, you're still human. You'll still get frustrated. You'll still have moments where your patience runs thin. You'll still have times when things don't go the way you expect. But the samurai didn't achieve greatness by being perfect. They achieved greatness by embracing the imperfection and finding strength in it. This idea of accepting imperfection is an interesting one when you look at the samurai's philosophy. While their external appearance was one of strength and stoicism, many samurai also embraced the idea of wabi-sabi, the Japanese aesthetic of finding beauty in imperfection. A chipped sword, a crack in the floor, or a tear in their armor. These things didn't diminish their value. They added character. They told a story. The same can be said for your journey today. As you continue through your day, you realize that every little flaw you encounter is just part of your own story. The moments when things go wrong, when distractions throw you off track, those aren't failures. Those are the moments that build your strength, your resilience, and your ability to stay focused, despite the storm. You take a quick pause, reflecting on this new perspective. The samurai didn't shy away from challenges. They didn't pretend everything was perfect. They faced obstacles head on and learned from every experience. Whether they succeeded or failed didn't matter as much as how they handled the situation. And that's something you can bring into your own life. This is where it gets tricky, though. Because while it's easy to embrace the idea of finding strength in imperfection, it's not always so easy to practice it. You'll catch yourself being frustrated with your mistakes, wishing you could go back and do it differently. You'll doubt your ability to stay focused, to follow through on the things you've promised yourself. But that's when you need to remember the samurai. They didn't let their doubts define them. They acknowledged them, but they didn't let them take over. Instead, they focused on what they could control. That's your challenge right now, to stay focused. Not just when things are going well, but especially when they're not. Can you maintain the calm you've worked so hard to build, even when the world feels like it's throwing you off course? The key here is flexibility. The samurai were renowned for their ability to adapt quickly to changing circumstances. Whether it was the environment around them or the unpredictability of battle, they didn't hold on to rigid expectations. They allowed themselves to adapt, to find new ways to succeed, to change tactics when needed. They knew that staying flexible was a form of strength. This might seem like a small thing, but it's actually one of the most powerful lessons you can take from the samurai. Flexibility doesn't mean giving up. It means learning to move with the flow, adjusting to the challenges as they come, and not being tied down by your expectations of how things should be. As you go through the rest of the day, you find yourself thinking less about how everything should go and more about how to adapt as things unfold. The distractions don't feel so overwhelming anymore. The frustrations are still there, but they don't seem as threatening. You've learned how to stay calm, how to breathe through the chaos, and how to move forward without getting knocked off course. By the end of the day, you're left with this feeling, this sense of quiet accomplishment. You didn't conquer the world. You didn't slay any dragons, unless you count a few emails, but you've done something far more powerful. You've embraced the process, accepted the imperfections, and stayed focused, even when the world was trying to distract you. Now, that doesn't mean the samurai lived every day like this. Of course not. They were human, just like you. But the key was consistency. The samurai weren't perfect warriors every single moment, but they practiced discipline and focus every single day. And that practice is what set them apart. As you wrap up your day and reflect on the moments when you stayed grounded and focused, you realize something profound. The samurai's way wasn't just about fighting battles, it was about mastering life itself. And while you may not have a sword or a suit of armor, you've learned the most important lesson of all: how to fight with your mind, how to stay calm in chaos, and how to keep moving forward no matter what. By now, as the day winds down, you start to realize that the samurai's way wasn't just about what they did. It was about how they were. They lived with an awareness that every action, no matter how small, was part of their overall discipline. They didn't compartmentalize their lives. Everything was connected, and each moment, from waking up to going to sleep, was part of the larger picture of their existence. And now, here you are, at the end of the day. You've practiced some of their rituals, embraced their philosophy, and tried to move through your day with purpose. But, much like the samurai, you still have one more important task: to reflect. Reflection wasn't just a luxury for the samurai. It was an essential part of their routine. At the end of each day, they took time to reflect on their actions, their successes, and their failures. They didn't just rush into the next day. They looked back, evaluated their progress, and asked themselves, how can I improve? What did I learn? So, you take a moment to pause and reflect on the day. The rush of the morning seems like a distant memory now, and you find yourself thinking about the choices you made. Did you stay focused? Did you give your best effort? Were you able to stay centered, even when the distractions tried to take over? In the world of the samurai, this was a sacred process. They didn't just reflect on their physical performance, they reflected on their mental and emotional state as well. They asked themselves questions like, was I true to my code? Did I act with integrity? Did I uphold my duty with honor? Now, as you sit in the quiet of your evening, you ask yourself similar questions. You might not have a code written in the way the samurai did, but you do have your own values. What did you do today that aligns with your values? What could you have done better? This is where the real growth happens, because the samurai didn't just reflect to congratulate themselves for a job well done. They reflected to improve. They looked at their failures as opportunities for growth, and their successes as moments to solidify their foundation. They understood that every day was an opportunity to become better. And you're doing the same thing right now. Whether it was a small victory or a frustrating setback, you've learned something. You've gained something. Every task you completed today was another chance to practice discipline, another chance to sharpen your focus. And even in the moments when you didn't get it right, those moments taught you something too. The samurai understood that growth wasn't a straight line. It was a series of small steps, and sometimes those steps included failure. But each failure was a lesson. They didn't see mistakes as weaknesses. They saw them as opportunities for refinement. And that's a perspective you can take with you as you reflect on your day. You think back to the moments when you stayed calm and focused, and you feel a sense of pride. You didn't let the chaos of the day consume you. You didn't react impulsively. You faced each moment with intention. You moved through the day with purpose, and you ended it by acknowledging that purpose. And yet, even as you reflect on the good moments, you realize there's always room for growth. The samurai were never satisfied with their current state. They always sought improvement. And that's the mindset that will carry you forward. The journey of growth never truly ends, but for now, as the evening winds down and the distractions of the day fade away, you give yourself a moment to just be. You've done your best today. You've practiced. You've reflected. And you've learned. And like the samurai, you know that this is just one step in a much larger journey. You may not have conquered a battlefield today, but you've faced the challenges of modern life with a warrior's mindset. You've taken control of your morning, your focus, your actions, and that's something worth reflecting on. The samurai, of course, didn't always get it right. They were human, just like you, but they practiced. They stayed disciplined. They showed up, day after day, with purpose. And that's what made them great. Not their perfection, but their commitment to becoming better. As you close your eyes tonight, you carry that same commitment with you. You're not perfect. But you're trying, and that's enough. Because every day, you're a little bit closer to becoming the person you want to be. And that's the path the samurai walked. The morning light creeps through the curtains, and you slowly begin to stir from the deep, restorative sleep that follows a day. Well, lived, it's early. Earlier than you'd normally like. But today, just like every other day, the journey continues. The samurai didn't wait for the perfect moment to rise. They rose with the sun, ready to face whatever the day would bring. And so, here you are again, waking up with the same commitment, the same discipline that you've been practicing all week. You open your eyes, stretch, and for a moment you feel the weight of yesterday's efforts. The discipline you embraced, the focus you cultivated, the small victories you achieved. And while those moments might seem insignificant in the grand scheme of things, today, they matter. You are learning to live with intention, and that intention begins right here. In this moment, as you slowly pull yourself out of bed, you're reminded of the samurai's morning routine. They didn't jump out of bed with enthusiasm or eagerness. No, their mornings were about calmness, about establishing a foundation for the day ahead. They didn't rush, and they didn't make unnecessary noise. They rose slowly, stretched with purpose, and prepared their minds and bodies for the day's work. You're doing the same. Your mind might still be a little foggy from sleep, but there's a sense of purpose, a sense of quiet strength that you've been cultivating all along. It's not about feeling excited or energetic, it's about showing up. It's about making a decision to be present, to approach the day with clarity, and to start the moment you open your eyes. In the samurai world, there were no shortcuts. They didn't wait for motivation to arrive. They knew that motivation was a result of action, not the other way around. And right now, you're taking action. You're rising. Even when your body protests, even when the pull of sleep calls you back. The samurai didn't wait for the perfect moment to act. They understood that the perfect moment would never come. So they created it by moving forward with purpose. And it's not easy. It never was for the samurai. They spent years perfecting their craft, battling both the distractions of the world and their own inner turmoil. You might not have years to dedicate to this pursuit, but you can make each moment count. Just like the samurai, you don't need to be perfect. You just need to keep moving forward. As you step toward the bathroom, ready to wash the sleep away, you think about the importance of routine. The samurai had their rituals. Their routine was as sacred to them as their sword. It was their anchor, the constant that kept them grounded through the chaos of the world. And you're building your own version of that routine. A routine that centers you, that reminds you of your discipline, that aligns your actions with your purpose. You wash your face, feeling the cool water wake you up. You're not just cleaning your face, you're preparing yourself to face the world, to face the challenges that await you. And while you might not have a sword to carry with you, you've got something just as powerful, your resolve. The samurai understood the value of small rituals. They didn't need grand gestures to remind them of their purpose. It was the quiet, everyday moments, the way they cared for their armor, the way they cleaned their sword, the way they bowed in reverence to the day ahead, that defined them. It wasn't about doing one big thing right. It was about making every small thing count. And so, as you begin your morning, you realize that these small moments are where the magic happens. You don't need to be a perfect warrior to embrace the samurai spirit. You just need to show up. You need to move with purpose, to approach the day with discipline, and to remain focused on the journey, no matter how many distractions come your way. There's a myth in modern life that we should be constantly inspired, constantly energized. But the samurai knew better. They knew that inspiration was fleeting. It wasn't about waiting for inspiration to strike. It was about cultivating the discipline to act, even when you didn't feel like it. And that's what you're doing today. Even if you're tired, even if you don't feel like it, you're taking that first step. The samurai understood the importance of consistency. They knew that the greatest warriors weren't the ones who had the most talent or the best weapons. They were the ones who showed up every day. They were the ones who worked on their craft, who remained focused, who moved through the world with intention. And now, here you are, in your own daily battle. You're not facing a physical enemy, but you're facing something just as challenging. The distractions of modern life, the endless to-do lists, the noise of the world. But like the samurai, you're learning to stay focused, to remain present, and to keep moving forward. As you look at your reflection in the mirror, you see someone who is ready to face the day. Not perfect, not invincible, but someone who has made the choice to show up, to be disciplined, and to live with purpose. You may not be a samurai, but today, you're walking in their footsteps. And maybe that's enough. Maybe that's all it takes. To show up with intention, to do your best in each moment, and to keep moving forward. No matter what comes your way, the day unfolds before you. And with it, the lessons of the samurai seem to echo in the back of your mind, like a quiet guiding force. You've already begun to see that every moment of your day can be an opportunity for discipline, focus, and growth. And while it's tempting to rush through the day, to try and get everything done as quickly as possible, you now understand that the real strength lies in how you approach each task, how you show up. As you tackle your first challenge of the day, a small wave of frustration tries to creep in. Maybe it's a task you've been putting off, or something that just feels too mundane to deal with right now. You can feel that old impulse to procrastinate, to push it to the side for later. But then you remember something important. The samurai didn't wait for the perfect moment to take action. They didn't wait for motivation to arrive before they did the work. They simply acted. They understood that waiting for the right conditions was a trap. So, you sit with your task, take a deep breath, and start. Maybe it's not perfect. Maybe it's not going to be the most exciting part of your day, but you approach it like the samurai would, with patience, with focus, and with the knowledge that this small action is part of a larger whole. Every task, every moment, matters. As you dive into the work, you notice something interesting. It's not that the task has become magically enjoyable or that your frustration has vanished. It's that you're able to approach it differently. You're no longer overwhelmed by the thought of it. Instead of dreading the process, you've shifted your focus to the act itself. The samurai didn't worry about the end result. They focused on the present moment, on the actions they could take right then and there, and you're doing the same now. The outcome will come, but for now, it's about showing up, doing the work, and embracing the process. The samurai's greatest strength wasn't in their ability to wield a sword, it was their commitment to doing what needed to be done. No matter how mundane or uncomfortable, they understood that greatness was not achieved by waiting for the perfect conditions. but by doing the work consistently, day after day. And as you push through your tasks, you begin to feel that same sense of purpose, that same focus. Of course, this isn't to say it's always easy. The distractions still come, the pull of your phone, the temptation to take a break, the urge to shift your attention elsewhere. But the samurai were masters of resisting distractions. They trained their minds to stay focused, to stay disciplined, no matter what was going on around them. And while you might not be able to block out the world entirely, you can learn to manage those distractions, to acknowledge them without letting them control your actions. As you work through the rest of the day, you start to realize how much your mindset has shifted. The distractions are still there, but you're not fighting them anymore. Instead, you're learning to flow with them, to acknowledge their presence without allowing them to pull you off track. It's a delicate balance, one that the samurai practiced every day of their lives. They didn't expect perfection, and they didn't expect their focus to remain unbroken at all times. But they trained, and they practiced, and they adapted. And that's what you're doing now. You take another step back and reflect. The samurai were not defined by their swords or their victories on the battlefield. They were defined by their ability to show up, to act with purpose, and to live with integrity. It's a lesson you've carried with you throughout the day. The true power is not in waiting for the perfect moment, but in making every moment count. It's not about avoiding distractions, but learning how to navigate them with grace. It's not about achieving perfection, but embracing the process of growth. And as you finish another task, another small victory, you realize that this is the true power of the samurai, not their ability to fight, but their ability to live with purpose, to walk through the world with unwavering discipline, and to make every moment count. You don't need a sword to wield that power. You just need to show up, day after day, with the same commitment, the same focus, the same willingness to do the work. And that, my friend, is where the real strength lies. As you wind down from the day, you take a moment to reflect once again. The samurai knew the importance of ending the day with gratitude, of looking back on their actions, their successes, and their failures. They didn't judge themselves harshly for what went wrong. Instead, they used every moment as an opportunity to learn, to grow, and to refine their practice. And so, as you prepare for the end of the day, you too embrace the quiet reflection. You didn't get everything perfect, but you showed up. You did the work. You stayed focused, and tomorrow, you'll do it again. The journey isn't about perfection. It's about consistency, discipline, and the willingness to embrace the process of becoming better, day by day. And with that thought in mind, you rest easy, knowing that tomorrow is another day to rise with purpose, just like the samurai. The sun rises again, bringing with it the familiar quiet hum of the world waking up. The moment you open your eyes, you're aware of something. It's not the excitement of a new day. It's not the rush of adrenaline that you might expect from someone who's ready to conquer the world. No, this morning feels different. You feel a sense of calm anticipation, as though you've already decided how today will unfold, and you are prepared to meet it with a steady mind and a strong will. The samurai knew this feeling well. It's the quiet, unshakable confidence that comes from knowing who you are and what you stand for. They didn't need external validation to feel capable. They already knew, deep down, that their preparation, their mindset, and their discipline would carry them through whatever came their way. They didn't wake up wondering if they'd be ready for the challenges ahead. They woke up knowing they would be. And that's where you are now. You're not waiting for the world to hand you opportunities. You're not waiting for the perfect moment to act. You've made the decision that today is another opportunity to live with purpose, to follow through on your commitments, and to act with the same calm discipline that the samurai practiced every day. The first thing you do after waking is to breathe. Deep, slow breaths that settle you into the present moment. You don't rush. You don't check your phone. You just breathe. This simple act, this moment of stillness, sets the tone for the day ahead. The samurai understood that the most powerful weapon they had wasn't their sword. It was their ability to center themselves, to be present and aware in every moment. As you rise from bed, you take a few minutes to stretch. You feel the tension in your muscles, a reminder of the work you did yesterday, and you realize something. This stretching isn't just for your body, it's for your mind too. The samurai spent hours training their bodies, honing their skills, but they also spent time training their minds. They knew that their mental flexibility was just as important as their physical strength. The mind had to be as sharp as the sword, as focused as the warrior. You stand tall, stretching out the stiffness from your muscles, and for a moment, you picture yourself as the samurai you've been imagining all week. You see them in your mind's eye, dressed in their armor, standing with their sword at their side, ready to face whatever comes. But the samurai knew that their greatest weapon wasn't their sword. It was their discipline, their ability to stay calm, to stay focused, and to act when it was time to act. Now, you may not have a sword, but you have your own weapons. You have your breath, your focus, and your ability to respond to whatever the world throws at you. And that, my friend, is what makes you strong. You move toward the kitchen, and the ritual of brewing tea begins. The samurai didn't just drink tea, they revered it. For them, it was a moment of quiet reflection, a chance to center themselves before facing the chaos of the day. You do the same now, carefully selecting your tea leaves, boiling the water, and savoring the quiet of the morning. This ritual, while small, is a reminder of the importance of slowing down, of finding moments of stillness in a busy world. The tea steeps, filling the room with its calming fragrance, and you realize that this is your moment of peace, your moment to align yourself with the discipline and focus of the samurai. The distractions of the world can wait. For now, it's just you, your tea, and your intention to face the day with clarity. As you sip the tea, you think about the samurai's unwavering commitment to their code. They didn't wait for inspiration to strike. They didn't wait for the perfect conditions. They created those conditions through their discipline, through their actions, and through their commitment to staying present, no matter what was happening around them. And in this quiet moment, you make a similar commitment to yourself, to stay focused, to show up with purpose, and to keep moving forward, one step at a time. The world might be chaotic, and it might throw all sorts of challenges your way, but just like the samurai, you've chosen to walk through that chaos with calm. You've chosen to respond to it with discipline and focus. The distractions will come, the tasks will pile up, but you're prepared. You have your armor, the discipline to stay focused, the awareness to navigate the chaos, and the strength to keep moving forward. Today, just like yesterday, you don't have to wait for the perfect moment. You don't have to wait for everything to fall into place. You've learned that the samurai didn't wait for perfect conditions. They created them by taking action, by staying disciplined, and by showing up with unwavering focus, day after day. And today, you will do the same. As the morning unfolds, you're reminded of the most important lesson the samurai taught. The path to greatness isn't a sprint. It's a steady, consistent journey. You don't have to conquer the world today. You just have to show up. You just have to keep moving forward, and in doing so, you're becoming the person you've always wanted to be. The journey may be long, and the challenges may be many, but you are ready. You've already taken the first step, and that, my friend, is what makes you a warrior. The day moves forward, and you feel the weight of each decision you make, each action you take, grounding you deeper in the rhythm of your routine. You may not be wearing a suit of armor or carrying a sword, but you can feel the quiet power of your own discipline, much like the samurai did. Their true strength didn't come from the size of their weapons or the shine of their armor. It came from their unshakable resolve to follow their code, to act with intention, and to keep their mind sharp through every challenge they faced. As you step into your next task, the pull of distractions is stronger than ever. The world around you is full of noise, full of voices demanding your attention, pulling you in different directions. The temptation to rush, to multi-task, to hurry through the moments is ever present. But the samurai, in all their wisdom, knew that true strength comes from embracing each task with focus. One step at a time, they didn't rush through their lives, and neither should you. The first test of your resolve today is a small, seemingly insignificant task. It's easy to dismiss it, to rush through it just to get it out of the way. But here's the thing, the samurai didn't overlook the small tasks. They didn't believe any task was too insignificant to approach with purpose. They knew that everything, from polishing their armor to sharpening their swords, mattered. Every small action was a part of a larger whole, a step on the path toward their goals. So, you approach this task with the same mindset. You take a deep breath, and instead of rushing through it, you give it your full attention. You treat it with the same respect you would give to a grand challenge. The small task may seem trivial, but to the samurai, there was no such thing as a trivial task. Every action was an opportunity to practice discipline, to reinforce their commitment to their path. As you complete this task, you feel a small sense of accomplishment. It's not grand, it's not flashy, but it's done, and that, in itself, is a victory. The samurai didn't focus on the size of the task, they focused on the quality of their actions. Every small victory added up to something greater. The journey of discipline is built on these moments, on the small steps that lead you toward your larger goals. Now, as you look ahead to the rest of the day, you know there will be more challenges. Some will be bigger. Some will be more demanding. But they will all be opportunities to practice the same principles. The samurai didn't let themselves be overwhelmed by the challenges that lay ahead. They knew that they could only face them by remaining present, by breaking them down into smaller, manageable pieces, and by tackling them one at a time. As you move from task to task, you begin to notice a shift. The world still buzzes around you, full of noise and distractions, but you're no longer reacting to it in the same way. You've learned to embrace the chaos, to acknowledge it without letting it throw you off course. You don't need to control everything around you. You just need to stay true to your path. In this moment, you realize something profound. The samurai didn't just train to be great warriors. They trained to be masters of their own lives. They understood that the battle was not just against external enemies, but against their own impulses, their own distractions, and their own doubts. They knew that the greatest victory was the ability to stay focused, to stay disciplined, and to keep moving forward, no matter the challenges. And that's what you've been doing today. You've been training, not just to complete tasks, but to master your own mind, to stay focused on your goals, and to remain true to your purpose. You might not be perfect, but the samurai didn't expect perfection. They expected effort. They expected commitment. And that's exactly what you've been giving today. Now, as you reach the afternoon, you feel a sense of calm resolve. The distractions are still there, the challenge is still ahead, but you no longer feel overwhelmed. You've learned the art of focus, of keeping your attention where it needs to be, and letting everything else fade into the background. Like the samurai, you've learned to move through the world with grace, to remain centered even in the face of chaos. You begin to see that the samurai's way was not about avoiding the world or the challenges it presents. It was about facing it with clarity, with purpose, and with an unwavering commitment to their path. And that, you realize, is what you've been doing all along. The world might be unpredictable. It might be full of noise, but you've learned to stay grounded. You've learned to focus. And as you continue through the day, you know that each step, no matter how small, brings you closer to becoming the person you want to be. Just like the samurai, you've learned to see each moment as an opportunity to practice, to grow, and to become stronger. The day is far from over, but you're not worried. You've already proven to yourself that you have the strength to face whatever comes next. You've already learned the most important lesson of all, that true power lies not in external circumstances, but in your ability to respond with focus, with discipline, and with a calm mind. The journey continues, and with each step, you become more like the warrior you've always aspired to be. As the day starts to wind down, you realize something. You've spent most of it simply being, moving from one task to the next with purpose, with discipline, and with intention. You faced the distractions and the frustrations, but they didn't derail you. You stayed focused, centered, and, in the process, you grew stronger. It wasn't about perfection. It was about progress. And you can feel it now, a quiet confidence building inside you, as steady and unshakable as the samurai's resolve. There's a certain peace that comes with this kind of discipline. It's not about controlling the world around you, or avoiding challenges. It's about embracing the challenges, knowing that you are equipped to face them. The samurai knew that their true battle wasn't against external enemies. It was against themselves. It was about learning to control their impulses, to stay calm in the face of adversity, and to act with unwavering focus, even when everything around them seemed chaotic. And now, as you move toward the evening, you begin to understand this deeply. The distractions haven't disappeared, but they don't have the same hold on you anymore. You've learned how to navigate them, to keep moving forward even when the noise around you is deafening. It's not about eliminating distractions. It's about choosing how you respond to them. The samurai didn't control their environment, but they controlled themselves. They chose their actions, their reactions, and their mindset. You find yourself thinking back to the morning, when you first set out to embody the samurai's way. At first, it felt like an experiment, something to try, something to see if it could work. But now as you reflect on the day, you realize that it's more than that. It's a shift in mindset, a way of living that is grounded in discipline, focus, and presence. You're not just going through the motions. You're living with purpose. But the samurai also knew the importance of rest. They didn't fight battles without taking time to recover, to recharge, to reflect. They understood that true strength comes not just from action, but from rest and recovery. And so, as the day comes to a close, you allow yourself to rest. You acknowledge the work you've done, the focus you've maintained, and the progress you've made, and then you let go. You let yourself relax, knowing that tomorrow will be another opportunity to continue the journey. As you unwind for the night, you find yourself thinking about the small victories of the day. Maybe it was the way you handled a difficult conversation with grace, or how you were able to stay focused on a task, even when you didn't feel like it. Maybe it was the moments when you didn't let frustration take over. When you chose to remain calm, just like the samurai. You realize that these small moments are what add up. These are the moments that build your strength, your discipline, and your resilience. The samurai didn't live their lives expecting every moment to be perfect. They knew that the path to mastery was filled with setbacks, challenges, and imperfections. But they didn't let those setbacks define them. They used them as opportunities to grow, to refine their skills, and to get closer to their ultimate goal. And that's what you've been doing today. Step by step, task by task. You've been building your strength, not through perfection, but through effort, consistency, and discipline. As you lay down to rest, you reflect on the bigger picture. The samurai didn't just live for the battles they fought, they lived for the journey itself. They understood that true mastery wasn't achieved in one great moment of glory. It was built over time, through daily practice, through moments of discipline, and through a commitment to improvement, and you're on that same path now. You may not have a sword, and you may not be facing an actual battlefield, but the battle you've been fighting is just as real. It's the battle to stay focused in a world full of distractions. It's the battle to show up, to keep moving forward, and to live with purpose, even when life gets chaotic. And with every step you take, you're getting stronger, just like the samurai. Tomorrow, the journey will continue. You'll rise again, ready to face whatever challenges the day brings. And with each day, you'll continue to grow, to practice, and to move closer to the person you want to be. The path may not always be easy, but it's yours to walk. And just like the samurai, you're learning to embrace it with discipline, with focus, and with a quiet strength that no distraction can shake, as the new day begins. You wake up with the same quiet determination, feeling a sense of purpose settle over you. It's not excitement, not that rush of enthusiasm that often accompanies the first day of a new adventure. No, this feeling is something different. It's calm, it's steady, and it's the kind of strength that the samurai knew so well. A strength that's built not on momentary bursts of energy, but on consistency, discipline, and the simple act of showing up, day after day. You begin your morning as you have every day this week, slowly, purposefully. You stretch, you breathe, and you center yourself. The world outside is still full of noise and distraction, but in this moment you create your own space of calm. The samurai understood that peace didn't come from the world around them. It came from within, and here you are, learning to do the same. You might not be a warrior in the traditional sense, but you're facing your own battles, small ones, everyday ones, the battle against distractions, the battle to stay focused, the battle to live with intention. The samurai fought physical battles, yes, but their greatest strength was in how they carried themselves, in how they approached each task with mindfulness and purpose. And now, you're doing the same. There's no rush today, you don't need to be anywhere, and you don't need to do anything at breakneck speed. You know that greatness isn't achieved through frantic action, it's achieved through deliberate action. The samurai didn't rush through life. They moved with purpose, knowing that every moment, no matter how small, mattered, and you've come to understand this. Your morning routine isn't just about waking up and getting through the day. It's about making each moment count, about taking small, focused actions that add up over time. As you move through your morning ritual, you reflect on how far you've come. Just a few days ago, the idea of living with this kind of discipline felt like a distant dream. You didn't think you could be so consistent, so present, so calm. But now, as you move through your routine with ease, you realize that you're not just pretending to be a samurai, you're becoming one in your own way. Of course, it's not perfect. There are still moments when your mind wanders, when distractions threaten to pull you off course. But that's okay. The samurai didn't expect perfection. They understood that the journey was about progress, not perfection. Every time you return to the present moment, every time you refocus after a distraction, you're strengthening the muscle of mindfulness. And so, as you move toward the next phase of your morning, you do so with a quiet sense of pride. Not because you've done anything extraordinary, but because you've been consistent. You've shown up, day after day, with the same commitment to your routine, the same dedication to your focus. And that, in itself, is a victory. The samurai didn't just fight on the battlefield. They fought to master themselves. They fought to stay disciplined, to remain focused, and to keep their minds sharp. They knew that their greatest enemy wasn't the one standing in front of them with a sword. It was their own thoughts, their own distractions, their own doubts. And just like them, You're learning to fight those battles with grace and resolve. But even the samurai knew that rest was just as important as action. They didn't believe in burning themselves out. They understood that true strength came from balance. And so, as you move through the day, you remember to take breaks, to pause, and to recharge. You understand now that strength isn't just about pushing forward relentlessly. It's about knowing when to rest, when to step back, and when to give yourself the space to recover. The samurai didn't conquer the world with force alone. They conquered it with balance, with wisdom, and with the quiet knowledge that true strength comes from within. And so, as the day continues, you move forward with that same sense of balance, ready to face whatever challenges come your way. You don't need to conquer the world today. You just need to show up. You need to keep moving forward, one step at a time, with the same commitment to your routine, the same focus, and the same discipline that the samurai embodied. You might not have a sword, but you have something even more powerful: your mind, your focus, and your ability to choose how you respond to the world around you. And that, my friend, is where true strength lies. So as you face the rest of your day, remember this: the journey is not about rushing to the finish line. It's about moving forward with intention, with purpose, and with the quiet confidence of someone who knows that every step, no matter how small, brings them closer to their goal. Just like the samurai, you are learning to live with discipline, to act with intention, and to stay grounded in the midst of chaos. And with that, you continue your journey, not as a perfect warrior, but as one who is learning, growing, and moving forward with the same steady resolve that the samurai carried in their hearts. As the day carries on, you begin to realize something important. The samurai didn't just face external battles. They faced the battles within themselves, every morning, every task. Every challenge was an opportunity for them to practice discipline, to sharpen their focus, and to refine their resolve. And today, you're doing the same. It's not about the magnitude of the tasks at hand. It's about how you approach them, how you face the obstacles that arise, and how you choose to respond. The samurai knew that the most difficult battles weren't fought with swords or shields. They were fought with their own minds. The battle against doubt, the battle against distractions, the battle against the pull of comfort and the temptation to procrastinate. And as you move through your day, you begin to see that you're facing these same battles. It's easy to think that living with discipline means following a set routine perfectly, every single day. But the samurai didn't expect perfection from themselves. They understood that discipline wasn't about never failing. It was about getting up, staying committed, and moving forward, even when things didn't go according to plan. Their real strength lay in their ability to persevere, to continue their training, to remain steadfast in their commitment to their path, no matter the setbacks. And today, you're doing the same. You're facing your own small battles, those moments of self-doubt, those times when you feel the urge to give up, when the distractions of the world start to weigh on you. But instead of letting those distractions control you, you're learning to take a step back, to center yourself, and to continue moving forward with purpose. This is where the true power of the samurai's mindset lies, not in never facing doubt, but in learning to overcome it each time it arises. You pause for a moment to reflect on how far you've come. Just a few days ago, the idea of staying disciplined, focused, and intentional seemed like an uphill battle. The noise of the world felt like it would drown you. But now, you've learned to embrace the quiet moments, to center yourself amidst the chaos, and to focus on what truly matters. The distractions are still there, but they no longer have the same power over you. This realization is powerful, isn't it? Because the samurai didn't just train their bodies, they trained their minds. They learned to control their thoughts, their impulses, their reactions. They understood that mental discipline was just as important as physical strength, and that their ability to stay focused in the midst of chaos would be what set them apart. And you've been doing that too. You've been training your mind, learning to focus on the task at hand, and refusing to let the noise of the world pull you off course. You move into the next part of your day, and as you do, you feel a quiet sense of pride. The samurai didn't get to where they were by taking shortcuts. They didn't become warriors by waiting for motivation to strike. They became warriors through consistent practice, through daily rituals, and through a commitment to their own growth. And now, you're walking that same path. But the samurai also knew that strength wasn't just about focus and discipline. It was about knowing when to step back, when to rest, and when to give yourself the space to recover. You're learning this too. You've realized that pushing yourself too hard, without taking time to rest and recharge, isn't a sign of strength. It's a sign of imbalance. Today, as you move through your tasks, you find yourself being more mindful of when to pause, when to breathe, and when to simply be. You're not just charging through the day like a warrior on a battlefield. You're moving with purpose, yes, but you're also making sure that you're not depleting yourself in the process. Just like the samurai knew when to sharpen their swords, you're learning when to rest your mind and body so that you can return stronger, more focused, and more ready to face the challenges ahead. This lesson, this balance between action and rest, is something the samurai understood deeply. They didn't fight endlessly without stopping to recover. They knew that their greatest strength came from being able to recharge, to regain their energy, and to return to their tasks with renewed purpose. You too are learning to balance your action with rest, to create space for yourself in the midst of the chaos, and to approach each moment with the same calm resolve the samurai practiced. And as the day winds down, you find yourself reflecting on everything you've learned. The samurai didn't expect to become masters of their craft overnight. It took years of training, of discipline, of failing and trying again. And just like them, you're learning that greatness isn't a sudden achievement. It's a long, steady journey of small steps, of consistent effort, and of unwavering commitment to your path. So as you prepare for the end of the day, you do so with a quiet sense of accomplishment. Not because you've completed every task perfectly, but because you've remained committed, you've stayed focused, and you've learned to embrace the process of growth. Tomorrow, you'll continue on this journey, ready to face the next challenge, the next step, and the next opportunity to grow. Like the samurai, you've learned that true strength isn't about being perfect. It's about being present, being disciplined, and staying true to your purpose, no matter what comes your way. As night falls, a quiet stillness settles over you. The world outside begins to slow down, and you can feel the weight of the day gently lifting off your shoulders. It's as if the samurai, after a long day of practice and discipline, would finally kneel to reflect on their journey, knowing that while the day's work is done, their path is far from over. You find yourself doing the same now, looking back on everything you've accomplished today. No grand victories, no dramatic moments of triumph, but that's exactly the point. The samurai didn't live for those moments of glory. They lived for the small, quiet victories that came with every act of discipline, every decision to stay focused, and every moment spent in alignment with their purpose. You take a deep breath, just as you've done every day. And as you breathe, you start to reflect, not on the tasks you've checked off, not on the things you've done right or wrong, but on the very process itself. The samurai's strength was never about one action or one moment. It was about how they carried themselves in every moment, how they made each day an opportunity to practice discipline, to refine their focus, and to remain centered in the face of life's inevitable challenges. The more you think about it, the more you realize how much you've grown. You may not be carrying a sword or wearing armor, but you've become a warrior in your own right. A warrior who faces the daily battles of distraction, doubt, and external pressure, but who continues to show up, to stay grounded, and to move forward with purpose. It's not always easy, of course. The distractions are still there. The noise of the world is still present, trying to pull your attention in 1,000 different directions. But you've learned something important this week, that it's not about silencing the world. It's about knowing how to move through it, how to face it with clarity, how to choose where to place your focus, and how to navigate the chaos with grace. The samurai lived by the principle of self-mastery. They didn't try to control everything around them. They didn't expect life to be perfect or predictable. Instead, they focused on mastering themselves, their thoughts, their emotions, and their reactions. And that's exactly what you've been doing. You've been learning to master your mind, to choose how you respond, and to embrace the process of growth. Of course, it's easy to get caught up in the idea of perfection. It's easy to feel like you're not doing enough, like you're not enough. The samurai knew this temptation well, but they also understood that true mastery came through consistent effort, not through perfection. It was about embracing the journey, not the destination, and that's something you're learning to embrace. 2. As you wind down for the night, you remember something important. The samurai didn't just fight battles, they lived with intention, with purpose, and with a commitment to their own growth. They understood that every day was an opportunity to refine their craft, to become better versions of themselves. And today, you've done just that. You've faced your own challenges, your own distractions, and your own doubts, and you've come through them with a greater sense of clarity and focus. You may not be perfect, you may not have mastered every aspect of your life or your routine, but you've shown up, you've put in the effort, and that's the most important thing. As the night settles in, you allow yourself a moment of quiet reflection. You're not just looking back on what you've done, but also on who you've become. The samurai weren't defined by their victories or their status. They were defined by their ability to remain true to their path, to stay committed to their purpose, and to approach every challenge with the same discipline and focus. And today, you did the same. You faced the challenges of your day, small and large, with the same commitment to growth. You didn't let distractions throw you off course. You didn't let setbacks define you. You stayed focused, you stayed disciplined, and you kept moving forward no matter what. Tomorrow will bring more challenges, more opportunities for growth, and more chances to practice. And as you close your eyes tonight, you know that you're ready for it. Just like the samurai, you've learned that the path to mastery is not about perfection. It's about showing up, staying committed, and learning from every step of the journey. So, as you drift off to sleep, remember this: you don't have to be perfect. You just have to keep moving forward. One step at a time. The journey may be long, but with every small victory, you're getting closer to the person you want to be. And that, my friend, is what truly matters. The morning arrives with a quiet grace, and you wake up, feeling the gentle pull of another day. The world around you is still dark, the noises of the outside world muffled by the stillness. But as you lie there, in the quiet of your room, you know that the day ahead holds challenges, opportunities, and moments that will test your resolve. Just like the samurai, who faced their world with discipline and intention, you too rise to meet this day with a quiet strength. The samurai knew that their strength came from their ability to maintain focus in every moment. Whether it was the smallest of tasks or the grandest of battles, they approached everything with the same discipline. They didn't treat anything as insignificant, and today, you're doing the same. You're learning to approach every moment, every task, with that same focused attention, knowing that greatness lies in the details. You begin your morning slowly, taking your time to stretch, to breathe, and to center yourself. The world around you hasn't woken up yet, and it's in these early moments that you find a kind of peace. There's no rush, no pressure. Just the quiet sound of your breath, the stillness in your mind, and the steady rhythm of your actions. This, too, is a part of your practice. The samurai didn't rush through their mornings. They took their time to prepare themselves mentally and physically for the day ahead. As you rise from bed, you move through your morning routine with the same care. You've done this before, and each step feels familiar now. There's a rhythm to it, a sense of purpose in the smallest of actions. You make your bed with intention, not because it's a task to check off, but because it's a moment to practice discipline, to practice mindfulness. And as you step into the next part of your morning, you think about the samurai's relationship with their swords. They didn't just carry them, they maintained them, cared for them, treated them with reverence. Their swords were a reflection of their commitment to their path. The way they sharpened their swords was the same way they sharpened their minds. Each action had meaning. And now, you find yourself considering your own tools, your own weapons. Your mind, your focus, your ability to stay present. These are your swords, your tools for navigating the world. You're not just going through the motions. Each step, each moment is part of a larger process. The samurai didn't wake up every day with the same enthusiasm they had on their first day of training. They woke up with the understanding that greatness was found in consistency. In the dedication to their craft, they didn't expect every day to be extraordinary. They simply committed to showing up and doing the work. You, too, are committing to this practice. You're not waiting for inspiration to strike. You're not waiting for the perfect moment. You're showing up step by step, and in doing so, you're becoming the person you want to be. This is where the samurai's true power lies, not in their ability to defeat their enemies, but in their ability to stay true to their path, day after day. As you move forward into the next part of your morning, you reflect on the importance of discipline. It's not about force or aggression, it's about quiet strength, about moving through the world with purpose and intention. The samurai didn't need to prove themselves to others. They knew who they were, and their actions reflected that certainty. And today, you find that same sense of quiet confidence beginning to take root in you. The distractions are still there, the noise of the world, the pressures of life, the pull of the mundane tasks that demand your attention. But you've learned that it's not about avoiding the distractions. It's about how you respond to them. The samurai didn't try to shut out the world. They moved through it with awareness, with focus, and with clarity. And that's exactly what you're doing now. You're learning to move through the noise, to stay centered in the midst of it, and to keep your focus on what truly matters. As the morning continues, you realize that you're not just practicing discipline, you're practicing patience. The samurai didn't expect instant results. They knew that mastery took time. It wasn't about rushing through the process. It was about showing up every day, doing the work, and trusting that the results would come in time. you, too, are learning that same lesson. You're not trying to achieve perfection today. You're simply trying to stay committed to the process, knowing that with each small step, you're getting closer to your goal. The distractions will come, the doubts will arise. But you've learned that these things are a natural part of the journey. The samurai faced their own fears, their own uncertainties, but they didn't let those things control them. They kept moving forward, trusting that each step, no matter how small, brought them closer to their ultimate goal. As you continue with your day, you carry that same resolve with you. You know that the challenges will come, but you also know that you are prepared. You've practiced, you've committed. And just like the samurai, you are learning to face the world with quiet strength, with purpose, and with the unshakable belief that you are capable of handling whatever comes your way. Tomorrow, the journey continues, and you will continue to grow, continue to practice, and continue to move forward with the same discipline, focus, and determination that the samurai lived by. The evening falls gently, and with it comes a sense of calm and reflection. The day is winding down, but there's no rush to let go of the lessons you've learned. You've moved through the world today with purpose, with focus, and with intention. Just like the samurai, you've faced the challenges, the distractions, and the doubts, but you've also shown up, stayed disciplined, and embraced the process of growth. Now, as the world outside quiets, you take a moment to reflect. The samurai didn't just fight battles. They lived with discipline, humility, and a constant commitment to growth. They understood that every moment was a chance to practice, to refine their focus, and to remain grounded in their purpose. And as you sit here now, you realize that the same principles apply to your own journey. Today, you've shown yourself that even in the midst of the distractions, the noise, and the daily demands, you can stay true to your path. The samurai's true strength wasn't in their ability to fight, but in their ability to live with integrity and to focus on the present moment. They didn't let the world dictate their actions. They chose their response, and in doing so, they became masters of their own lives. As you sit quietly now, you reflect on the small victories of the day. They may not have been dramatic. There were no grand moments of triumph, but that's the point. It's not about the big moments. It's about the daily practice. It's about showing up, time after time, with the same commitment, the same discipline, and the same focus. The distractions are still there. Yes, the demands of life haven't gone away, but you've learned that they don't define you. Your response to them does. And that's what the samurai knew all along. They understood that external circumstances could change in an instant, but their internal resolve, their commitment to their code, was what would carry them through. You may not be a samurai in the traditional sense. You may not carry a sword, wear armor, or fight in battles, but you are walking a path of discipline, focus, and purpose, just as they did. The world is filled with distractions, obstacles, and challenges, but you've learned to face them with the same quiet strength, the same calm resolve. You are mastering yourself, just as the samurai mastered their own minds and actions. And as the evening turns to night, you take one last moment to center yourself. The day is over, but the journey is not. Tomorrow, you'll rise again, ready to continue your practice, ready to take on the challenges that lie ahead. And like the samurai, you'll face them not with fear or hesitation, but with confidence, discipline, and focus. The samurai didn't expect their path to be easy, and neither should you. The journey of growth, of self-mastery, is never linear. There will be setbacks, moments of doubt, and times when things don't go as planned. But that's okay. The samurai didn't measure their worth by the outcome of each battle. They measured it by the consistency of their actions, by their commitment to their code, and by their ability to stay true to their path, no matter what. So, as you lay down to rest tonight, you can feel proud of the effort you've put in today. You've shown up, you've stayed focused, you've practiced discipline, even when it wasn't easy. And tomorrow, you'll do the same. The journey is never finished, and that's what makes it beautiful. It's not about reaching the destination. It's about becoming the person you're meant to be along the way. As you drift off to sleep, you know that with each passing day, you are getting closer to your true self. Like the samurai, you're mastering your mind, your body, and your soul, one step at a time. And in the quiet of the night, as you close your eyes, you know that tomorrow will bring another opportunity to continue this journey. And so, with that peace in your heart, you let go, knowing that the journey never ends. Each day is a new chance to grow, to refine, and to live with purpose.